So that's because you're thinking as an individual. I have more Black hypocrisy coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense Logical Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So I came up with the concept of group collective oppression based off of watching Black people in years of studying and watching Blacks. And at my age, I guess you could say decades of watching Black people. And basically, group collective oppression, that is basically this concept that if something happens to a Black person, and I'm talking about Blacks in America because I'm an American Black, but if something happens to a Black person, it happens to all of us. So it could be something in the present that happened in the present. It could be something that happened in the past. Okay, it could be something that happened 20 years ago. It could be something that happened 200 years ago. You know, it happens to all of us. And you hear phrases like, well, it's we or us. Now, the reason why Black folks use group collective oppression is because they cannot tell you how they're being individually being oppressed. There's no systemic racism in America stopping any Black person in this country from doing anything. So they can't tell you how they're being individually held back in this country. They can't say how they as an individual are being held back or barred from achieving anything in America. So they have to fall back on group collective oppression as a means of being a victim, because again, they've been brainwashed into being victims. They've been told a lie big enough, long enough, and loud enough that Black folks that America's a racist country. There's all this white supremacy, systemic racism, such and such. They've been basically so brainwashed that they believe it and they want to be victims, and the only way that they can grasp the victimhood is to do so as a collective. Now, I talked about Antoin Daniels before. I'm a huge fan of his. Does a lot of good work for Black folks, people in general, but he basically gives a lot of info about what it would take to fix the Black community. Now, he every weekly hosts a panel show on Monday. I believe it's on Monday, and he hosted with another social media mogul by the name of basically Island Girl Q. And they basically have, guests on, and oftentimes they have recurring guests. Now, one of those recurring guests is a female by the name of Jasmine Moore, or she goes by the name of Jazz. And if you watch any of those panel shows, you'll know that Jazz is basically a complete Black victim, always crying about racism, white supremacy. You hear her talking about, the we, us stuff. Well, one particular show, she basically started using that group collective oppression.
Even given grace, we weren't even given anything
in
exchange for what was done to us in this country. Were we ever not?
Hold on, one second.
Oh my God.
I'm curious. So how is the system preventing you from being successful, Jazz?
Because 400 years we did.
I'm sorry.
400 years.
I'll get to you in a minute, baby.
No, she can answer for me. She can answer.
Okay, go ahead, Chanel.
Even if I was not a Black woman that's ever experienced discrimination, I would not go about this world believing that just because I didn't experience it personally, that it's not happening to people in my community around me, and that it is a problem. It has been a problem, and nobody is doing anything to fix that problem.
We're going to get examples. How were you discriminated against?
I'm not of the individualistic mindset. I know
you
that
said that you were.
I know when there are corporations. I'll give you a quick.
I'm trying to understand how you got discriminated.
Since we want to speak individually, like about the individual experience, when really what's most important is the collective experience.
No, it's the individual experience.
No, it's really not. But because there are too many of us with that individualistic mentality, we would lean more towards into the Candace Owens rhetoric, because it's not about the progress of the collective. It's about me. Fuck what happens to you, even though you look like me.
That was a montage from a show that was done, I think it was about a year ago or so. That was a montage of a video that was done and she spent most of that video, that montage, using group collective oppression. She kept saying we this and we that. They even referred to 400 years of oppression. Black folks love to say that. And what you saw here is honestly typical of blacks. Nothing special here. Well, where's the hypocrisy, you may ask? Well, let's hear it.
Don't have any say so.
Wait, but
how are you saying that this is fair?
Women voted for that, right?
You're trying to assimilate.
Yeah.
You know
Women
what I mean?
voted for that, right, Jazz?
Yeah,
Women voted for that, right?
it's
Women
not the
voted for
majority
that.
of women that feel like that.
Did women vote for that?
Yeah, I'm sure that they did, and they made a huge mistake. I didn't vote for that shit. I wasn't.
Silent majority.
I wasn't. Yeah, nah. They made a huge mistake voting.
Now, this was a more recent show. I believe this was basically one of those shows from this year. Now, to get the full context of what they were talking about, they were basically discussing the idea of, trans, the idea of equality, and trans women being able to, or men calling themselves women, being able to compete in women's sports, and you basically using the women's restroom. Now, she was against it. She's against it. And you know what? I'm against it as well for the most part. But she's completely against the idea of these trans women using, competing against women and in sports and using the women's restaurant. Now, the guy told her, well, wait a minute, isn't this what women wanted when they were crying for equality? Isn't what you voted for? And she said, well, she didn't vote for it. She wasn't here. So you mean to tell me that when it comes down to black victimhood, it's we, us. But when it comes down to this equality talk, well, she wasn't here because she didn't vote for it because she wasn't here. Well, wait a minute. You weren't here for 400 years. You weren't even alive during slavery, but she'll cry about slavery. She wasn't alive during no segregation and Jim Crow, but she'll cry about segregation and Jim Crow. Again, this just, you're telling me it's we, us, when it comes down to black oppression, but not us when it comes down to you having to be held accountable for what feminism pushed for and wanted. Again, likewise, it should be us, and she should take accountability. She should say, yeah, it was us women who originally supported that, but what she said, she abdicated herself. As soon as equality becomes inconvenient, now it's no longer we. It's I wasn't here, I didn't vote for it. Whenever it's convenient. Again, this is hypocrisy to the core. And this is why I always say that people on the left will lie to push a narrative. And regardless if it's an outright lie or it's a half-truth or it's constantly flip-flopping, it's a lie. And here is an example of her flip-flopping on a point because it was no longer convenient for her. With all this we, so it's we, us when it's convenient. And like I said, I guarantee you, if she wins the lottery, I guarantee you it won't be no damn we, us. It'll be her and her family. But like I said, y'all, this is another example of why I don't trust leftists on the face value, because they lie. They are willing to lie their asses off to push a narrative. Anyway, like I said, it's my 2 cents on it. More black hypocrisy, and this is more how she wants to pick and choose when she wants to be we, when it's we or us, and then when it's her. Black hypocrisy to the core. Like I said, as I see black hypocrisy, I'll do videos. If I was to do a video on every example of black hypocrisy I could, probably 40% of my videos will be on black hypocrisy. But anyway, like here's one example here. And like that's my 2 cents on this. And it's always, y'all, until next time.